Hello people and welcome back. I'm in the woodland where my bushcraft shelter is, and I'm just going over to have a look at it and check it out. It's been possibly over a month since I've been here, and yeah, I just want to make sure it's okay, but I'm not here to actually do anything in and around the bushcraft shelter. I'm actually here because I want to check out an ancient monument. Now, the Cornwall County Council interactive map states it as being prehistoric, but it is Bronze Age or Iron Age. I've just seen a load of deer, a big herd of them, go off in front of me. Yeah, it's in a part of this forest that I know nothing about. I've recce'd the immediate area, and you would have seen that in some of my other videos relating to this bushcraft shelter. But I'm going to try and find it. This woodland is extremely large in the fact it's long, and there's difficult access through a large part of it because there's a large river that cuts off in some places 3/4 of available access, but the rest of it, at least half the access points, you could not get to it due to the fact there's a large river. So I'm going to make my way to the shelter, have a coffee, check the map, and then I'll think about how I'm going to do this. I'm going to try and use the tracks. I'm not going to try and bushwhack it because it could take a day just to do it that way. So I'm going to have to stay stealthy, listening and hearing out for signs of people or activity, and dive in and out of the shadows of the forest. But let's make this happen. Well, at first glances, it's all in one piece, and that moss is looking really lush. It's been on there for quite some time now, and yeah, it's holding up. Yeah, looking all good. I'm surprised we haven't had no trees go down on it. The area around the bushcraft shelter hasn't been moved, nor has my benches. And yeah, everything's as I left it. Not sure anything's living in there, but no, it's all good. So let's have a quick coffee and get the map out. Right then guys, there may be blue skies above me at times, but there is rain and it's started drizzling now. I have, on that note, brought my poncho, the Alpenflage one. I've got some biscuits and a flask just for some snacks to keep me going. The wind has picked up. There's going to be a shower in a minute. Just before a shower happens, you get the wind suddenly picks up. So I've checked out this bushcraft shelter. I'm happy it's in one piece, but where I'm going to, I haven't recce'd it. This part of the forest is an unknown to me. I do see there's a ford to get across part of a river to get to the opposite side I need to get to. Well, because of the rain, it's going to be flooded out and there would be no way to use that. That's how I see it and guess it. There is, on the other hand, a footbridge. Now, even though this isn't public access land, that footbridge would be there for people hunting or, you know, working the forest to go across. So I'm hoping and guessing that will still be serviceable. If it isn't, it's game over for me because, like I've said, the amount of rain we've had down here, any watercourse will be probably too dangerous and too deep to even think about crossing. I don't have my wellies, I've just got my boots. The reason I don't have my wellies is because I got them wet, and Wellington boots just seem to take forever to dry out, don't they? And yeah, I'm in that position. So I'm going to have a look at the map, and I've got the map in front of me. And even though I've checked out mappage, the mappage I've been looking at just gives details. It doesn't give the contour lines and things like that. So that's what I'm going to do now, and I'm going to confirm online whether This monument is buried in the trees. When we did our recce's here and when I built the shelter, I took you to some burial chambers. They're hidden in amongst the trees, and I'm guessing it's going to be the same with where we're going. It does have multiple rings, the earthworks, which suggests it was defensive. A single ring usually indicates a settlement. That's not always a given and true. So I'm going to be checking out the map a minute and I'll get back to you. Right, it's a shame to leave the shelter behind. I would like to spend a little bit more time there. It's actually really nicer actually having a coffee when I turn the camera off. So peaceful. I did check out aerial footage, which I have done already, just to confirm, and it does look like it's got a light covering of vegetation. If I'm reading the map and looking at the right area, it doesn't look like they've planted conifers there, and if they have, they will be new growth, so that will scupper things because you wouldn't be able to get through it. But in any case, yeah, we're going to make our way and try and find this monument. I'm always kind of excited, and well, I really enjoy going hunting down monuments like this, or sites, historic sites. This isn't public access to land, it is owned by a forestry. So technically, well, reality is there's no access to the public to these sites. That's a national scandal, particularly with history being not so readily accepted for what it was and is. I think that these sites should actually have public access to them and be managed in that manner, so that people can learn about our true history and ancestors that actually you know, lived in these lands. I mean, it totally fascinates me, but that's I'm going a little bit off piste here, but I'm bushwhacking anyway. I'm going to get myself out onto a track to speed things up. Now what you're looking at there is another tomb, a burial chamber. Now it's got some substantial trees growing on it now. I guess if they ever try to log those, they'd have to be pretty careful not to destroy this chamber. But like I said, I just think it's a shame how these things are not preserved for our future generations. So even though I'm on a trackway, I've got my eyes and ears fully open, even though that might sound a bit silly actually, with one eye, only 30% vision, and my hearing not that good at the moment due to surface ear. That will improve once all the seawater drains out of them naturally from when I went surfing. They got flooded out with seawater, and due to the condition, surface ear, it's where the bone closes over and reduces the hole basically to your eardrum. So if you get anything in it, it takes a long time to come out. So yeah, I am trying to be as stealthy as I can, and I'm prepared to dive into the shadows of the forest at a moment's notice. I'm not trying to dramatise this, but like I said, this isn't public access land. So you got to do what you got to do. Right, I'm reaching, or have reached, the junction which is the limit to what I've recce'd and explored so far. So everything from here on in is new to me. Yeah, they used to do, from what I can read online, there used to be in years gone by orienteering kind of competitions in here, but I don't think that happens anymore. Blue skies, but I have had rain, like I said. Right, I'm just going to check the map to make sure this is definitely what I think it is, or where I definitely think I am. Well, I'm on the trackway. I haven't heard or seen any signs of anybody, which is good. I'm a little bit apprehensive because I did plan, by looking at maps, to actually bushwhack from this point of where I believe I am on the map, to bushwhack to cut out a substantial amount of distance. That's no longer going to happen. And this is why boots on the ground doing recce's is so important. I'll let you have a look. Right, I've just come down there, and I was planning somewhere along here to actually go down through there and bushwhack to join a road. It would cut out a substantial distance, because I've got a feeling, if I'm correct in what I'm seeing on the map, this kinds of zigzags all the way down the gradient over a long distance, and I ain't pushing through that today. So off I trudge. This is going to stick a considerable amount of time on this what is a very quick look-see, but I've got no option now. And this is what a well-established basic commercial woodland would look like when all the trees have died back. The ones that aren't healthy or get taken out, you get left with the biggest and strongest, and these here are ripe to actually be harvested. This is what it's like when they first plant it. Like I said, till they sort themselves out, the weak ones, diseased and damaged ones die off to leave the bigger ones to grow. That's what it looks like. And it's a pain to try and navigate through, or bushwhack through. Right, I've hit a four-way junction. I've just come down there, and you can see there has been some recent activity here. And as random as you like, there is actually a wheelie bin there. I did have a look in it. It's got bits of plastic. I think looks like they've been doing a bit of fencing, but I think, or I'm sure, or I've got to be sure actually, that this is the way I've got to go. And it looks like there's a load of wild garlic coming up everywhere from what I can see. Is that wild garlic? No, that's not wild garlic. But it looks like this is a little bit of a turning area where the vehicles manoeuvre. It's quite boggy here as well. Yeah. Right, let's go. Now my old OS map, which I've got with me now, is still relevant to a point, but a lot of these tracks that I'm on aren't represented on it. The main ones still exist and I can still see those on the map, but like I said, not all of them. And I guess that's the importance of having up-to-date mappage, but I am still able to work with the information I've got, and some of the trackways are represented by the online mappage and information that I can glean, and I've actually screenshotted that, so I have that to work with as well. So I am taking advantage of old school paper and map. Well, when I say paper and map, I mean paper map and compass, and new school technology from, well, online sources. And occasionally I am getting a signal, so I am able to plot my location exactly where I am with that. So all is good so far, although there is a little bit of a maze of trackways down here, and I'm going to have to make sure I'm on the right one, otherwise I'll be missing my footbridge. Let's hope that's still in existence. Right, I've actually stumbled across a river and a little bit of native woodland, or native trees that have been allowed to grow in this forestry. It may have been here when they planted and took this ground on, but yeah, if I'd have took the shortcut and come down through this, it would have been fine. But just a few hundred meters, you'd be into full bushwhacking scenarios. And if you got that wrong, you could be aimlessly just pushing through trees. So that river and that bend gave me a really good insight to where I am on the map. So I'm quite happy with that. A little bit of relief. It's like hitting a waypoint and you can confirm exactly where you are on the map. But it's also confirmed I'm not making as good time as I originally thought. You can see across to the other valley over there, there is a river running in the middle down the bottom, which we should come to in a minute. But you can see how much tree coverage there is here. And from here I can spot the patches of, well, deciduous and the evergreens. So yeah, you can use that to your advantage if you're trying to navigate. But it's a big forestry. I've got several miles behind me, what you're looking at in front, and on top of that, you know, going forward and backwards, I've got miles of the stuff as well. So you could end up wandering around here aimlessly on tracks if you didn't have a little bit of navigation. Obviously if you're local you would know, but yeah, I'm not suggesting you would get lost forever. You would just be wasting your time, that's all. Right then guys, I've just pulled myself back in off the main track there. I think I heard mechanical vehicles. I'm not sure if they're in the agricultural land which runs alongside the river for a little while or further down this track. I've had a navigational, shall we say, situation where I was unsure of myself, and that's the worst thing when you're navigating. As soon as you start doubting yourself, that can cause problems. So I've pulled myself back in here. I've checked the map, tried to use cell service. There's no service this far down by the river, so I'm relying on the photos that or screenshots that I've got. And I think by that information there, I've got enough certainty to say I go around this track, then I keep going to my right till I eventually reach that ford or footbridge. I'm 90% confident in that evaluation, although there is still a nagging doubt, and I'm trying to put that to bed. But I'm going to try and be quiet and ready to get back into this wood line if anybody is down there. So I'm going to get going and see if my navigation is correct. Right, I've got my first glimpse of the river. There is actually a trackway running that way, but I think I've got to continue going to the right. I'll let you have a quick little look. Right, I think I've got to follow along there. Looks like this has been cut down, not recent, but that's a wood block there. And yeah, first glimpses of the river. And I can instantly see, if I don't have access to that footbridge, I'm going nowhere. That is a fast flowing deep river. Yeah, I don't think even my wellies would have helped me on this one. But to get to where I want to go, I've got to cross this river and go up that side. Right, and this isn't actually the main river, this flows into it. Now my instincts are telling me to go basically that direction, but my heart is telling me to follow this track within the woodland here that I've just showed you. That way. I don't have hundreds of time, so I'm going to, and I don't like being so exposed. When I walk out here, I can be seen for quite a way along this track. There would be no diving into the shadows, you know, it's just so exposed around there. If you're seen, you're seen. Whereas going in through here, you know, I could probably see and hear somebody a long way off, quite simply because I'm expecting it or looking for it. I've got the upper hand in that regard. I'm just going to quickly blitz down here. If I get challenged, you know, all I'm going to say is I'm just here to see if I can get some photographs of that monument or historical site. But there's no, I can't get to it. I've got to get across that river. So whatever happens, a ford is no use to me. It's no use to anybody in a vehicle at the moment. So it's got to be that footbridge. Yay! I found a footbridge. It's not such a cause for celebration. I'll let you have a look. That's a big old tree there, and you'll understand why I've pointed that out. Look at those cables. There's the footbridge. Right the way across to the other side. That's the first time I've actually seen that. Actually a bridge which is, you don't actually have access to it and it's marked on a map. There looks to be foundations for a historic bridge which was made of stone, but I can't get any further closer to the bank because it's boggy there. So yeah, they really don't want you using this bridge and going to the opposite side. That's the end of this expedition. It's good that I've seen it. I've explored a little bit more of this area. The next mission is to find out how I get to the opposite side from a different way in a different angle. Right, it's quite ingenious how they've done it. They've used some strops. Obviously they've got to be rated for quite a few tons. They got some shackles, they've got wire rope, and they've made or done a really decent job to that platform up there. And it goes right across, and it's the same setup except that one, if you have a look, goes round some branches as well up there. But that there is the historic remains of a bridge. No use to me. Well, this is one of those moments you wonder if you were better off to stay at home with a cup of coffee and a chocolate biscuit. Well, for me, that is the Bridge to Nowhere. I'm sure there's a song title in that, if you could come up with a song. Probably would have been a song, The Bridge to Nowhere, back in the 60s and 70s, I'd probably guess. But no, for me, that's the end of it. It's about 20 feet off the air. You wouldn't want to climb because and it's even further off the ground on the opposite side. Yeah, so I'm going to have to find another way in to that historic site. Right then, so that's been a failed mission to get to the actual, well, basically the historic site. Yeah, surprised about that, but they're obviously making sure nobody uses that. Right then, that's now going to mean I'm going to have to formulate and come up with a cunning plan to make this happen. But for me today, you've just seen me fail to reach my objective. Could I have jumped up and got to that platform? Hey, I'm sure if you went back into my youth, I would make every resilient effort to get up onto that bridge and get across and enjoy it. And enjoy the fact that I was up there. At 55, jumping up, hanging off bits of ropes, trying to swing my legs up or do pull-ups to get on it. And I did say 20 feet, but I'm guessing once I got down there and stuck my hiking stick up there, you're probably looking at probably 12 to 14 feet. I'm a bit beyond that, but it is a lot higher on the opposite side to drop off. So even if I got across there, I probably couldn't get back. This wasn't in my plan, but we did actually find the bridge. I mean, we've done some navigational practice, so there is some pluses. Plus I've also recce'd this part of the forest where the bushcraft shelter is in, but it's taken me a long time to get here. So now I've got to plan my not plan my escape out of here, just make it happen, plod the miles out. So yeah, I'm going to make that happen. I'll talk to you in a moment. Look how big these rhododendrons have got. They've become full-size trees. Quite impressive in their own right, although they're not native. I've just stopped off by this burial mound, and you tell me you just can't, even just looking at it, even if you didn't know what it was, you don't actually feel something. There is something special about these places. And yet again, you can see the centre bit that's collapsed down on itself. Obviously this is where the inside of the tomb would have been, or chamber. I'll come around here. And you can see how high we are looking down there. And that's one of the fire roads there, right beside it. Look at it. Eventually, if it's not managed, this will be, as those rhododendrons take hold, and they're starting to work away the ring of it, the slope, it'll be lost. But to think who was buried here and how they lived in this landscape. Totally amazing to think about it in that context, isn't it? So you can see that slope a little bit more. It's a little bit more exaggerated from this angle. Now the deer are using this, they can get underneath this low hanging branch. They haven't gone around it, and you can see they're skirting this older, more dense patch of woodland. Because it's slightly easier to navigate, they're taking the path of least resistance. They're actually following this actual, well, it's clearly defined. You can see where the plantation stops and the old growth is. I mean, you take a look how dense that is to push through compared to this. Right, I'm going to push on down through to near the entrance. I'm not going back to the bushcraft shelter, and I'm going to get a coffee and some biscuits just to, well, basically just enjoy a few moments in this woodland before I step outside, go back to my normal life and into the workshop and all my domestic chores I got to do. So yeah, let's find a nice spot and have a cup of coffee and some biscuits. Coffee and biscuits. I've actually taken these from the drawer the kids' packed lunch is actually in, and these are kind of Oreos, I think they are. I'm not a big fan of Oreos, but they'll do for now. What I'm going to talk about is if you can find a known distance of 100 meters and then you pace that out, that will give you a good method of being able to navigate if you're in tree lines and things like that. Because if you know, if you walk 100 meters by a specific amount of paces, you can gauge how far you've gone into a tree block. If you've then got a compass and a map and you can walk on a bearing, you know if you're following that specific bearing on the compass and you're walking a set distance of paces, that will give you the distance and you can translate that to the map. So you should be able to follow a line through trees. I wish I did more to navigation. Ironically, I was offered the chance to go and train to be a navigational instructor for my unit. I always turned it down because I was more interested in being on the shooting team, going on deployments and doing, like, you know, exercises in the field. That's one of my only regrets leaving the forces. I didn't do a navigational course, and on top of that I had the opportunity to do the mountain leader activities and training to get the qualification. Yet again, I turned that down to go away and do the things I mentioned earlier. I enjoyed it, but those are opportunities lost to me that I wish I took at the time. I didn't see any further than my own personal gratification and enjoyment, where I could have actually gained some qualifications that I could be using now. But in any case, I know enough navigational skills for me to navigate, you know, out in this environment. Although by no means am I an expert, or by no means would I ever put myself in the position I was stuck in the Sahara Desert with just my basic knowledge. I'd want a little bit more. But in any case, like I say, operating in this environment, what I do know and what I do have available to me, I can manage. And that brings me to the point, you should always have some, if you're going a little bit more off-piste, off-road than you really like or are really comfortable with, you really need to have some sort of navigational aids. And not only the navigational aids, be able to use and interpret them to where you are to move safely in that environment. Well, that being said, I'm going to stop waffling. I'm going to eat some of these chocolate biscuits, Oreos, which I don't like, but I will eat. And yeah, all that's left to be said is take care, stay safe, and I hope to catch you guys on the trail.